My name is Caitlynn McDaniel, and I am with Gayety and Pride on Instagram. So amazing to chat with you today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
You too. So, jumping into the character of Jonathan Larson, this artist who wanted to challenge things and chase his big dreams, did you have any sort of takeaways from exploring his life and his legacy?
Oh my God, countless. It was like being reunited with an old friend that I didn't, or an old brother that I didn't know existed, a long lost brother. And so I feel so close to John. I feel kind of connected to him in a kinship with him, like an older brother that I never had. And I'm so inspired by how he sees the world. And he was one of those rare artists that are my favorite kind of artists, that are just so permeable, so easily broken open, so full of heartbreak, and so full of a longing to set the world right. He's so sensitive as a man, and he wore his heart not only on his sleeve but in his throat, and he sang through it whenever he would sit at the keyboard. He felt the heartbreak of this particular time that he was born into, this 80s, 90s dystopia, this feeling of a meaninglessness that was permeating the culture because of commercialization and materialism, and greed is good, and then you have on top of that, of course, the heartbreaking loss of an entire generation of theater artists through the AIDS epidemic, and his connection to this community, his connection to these people, these souls, and each one he felt as his own personal loss, his own personal heartbreak, which leads, of course, to him being able to write through it, and to be the mouthpiece, to be the channel through Rent, through this musical, through Tick, Tick, Boom, and through the majority of the stuff that he wrote, which was so deeply personal and about him and his community, which was all about the sacredness of life and an outrage at a kind of inhumane Reagan Republican administration that was ravaging the bodies of innocent men and just standing by and doing nothing. The disgust at that, the inhumane heartbreak that he felt was then translated into such beautiful art, like so many beautiful artists were doing at the time, like Keith Haring, and the memorial quilt, which is maybe my favorite piece of art ever. He was a part of that march, and he inspires us to continue even now. So just to be able to bring more people his work, his music, his half-finished song, his drum beat, is a privilege for me.
Absolutely. And I love what you said, bringing it today and asking these same questions now, it's just as important as it was then.
Yeah.
And so now you get to sing in this film. And I know you've mentioned it before that if Lin-Manuel Miranda asks you to sing, you kind of just figure out how to do it. But when you were taking on this challenge, was there a time where you were like, okay, I can actually do this, I got this?
It's a really good question, and I wish there was a moment where I thought, great, but there wasn't. But I think maybe that kept me alive. It kept me on the edge of myself. And John, as you know about John, and what I think translates in the film, is that John was always on the edge of himself. He was always pushing himself. He was always going beyond the brink of the highest note he could reach. He was always pushing, striving further and deeper into his own creativity and into the world, trying to reach further than the back row, trying to get his voice all around the world, through the galaxy, through the cosmos, so that like aliens on other planets could hear it, and so for me, I think that it always felt out of reach what I was doing, and that maybe was right, because playing John, being John, allowing John to come through me, it requires a superhuman amount of energy, which he seemed to just have in abundance, because he knew he didn't have a lot of time here. I think deep down, unconsciously, I imagine this is how I understand it, is that the ticking is a legitimate thing, because as we know, he passed away at the age of 35 on the first night of the first preview of Rent off Broadway. So the ticking for me is a much more profound thing than turning 30. He may consciously be trying to interpret it as turning 30, or maybe it's my girlfriend's biological clock, or maybe it's the fact that all my friends are maybe dying. That's definitely a part of it, but on a deeper level as well, he could feel it in his bones that he had to get as much of his song out as possible, and he had to get Rent done and written as much as possible because he was going to have a heart attack. His heart was too big and bursting so full for this world and for life, and the terrible tragedy of that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It was an amazing performance. Congratulations on the movie, and thank you for chatting with me again.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Like this video? Follow us for more.